beautiful souls. Welcome to another show on Living Naturally with Michaela Live, where we talk about all things for living a naturally healthy life. So, today we are going to be diving deep into the power of self awareness, how tuning our thoughts, emotions, and physical signals can empower us to make healthier and more aligned choices in life. And today, my co host is Patricia Peters. And yeah, and so for those of you who may be just joining us for the first time, Patricia is a modern day shaman and she has a lot of experience in empowerment. And yeah, so I'll let her tell you all about all of her good stuff that she does. And and let's just jump in. So, welcome, Patricia. I'm happy to have you back again for another enlightening episode.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, I was gonna list your credentials, and then it's like, okay, well, you know what? I totally forgot if it was like psychotherapist or so I didn't want to just throw something out there and it's not the right thing. So but it's like, but I know this, but some days, the monkey mind just kind of takes over and you can't get things out. So but trust me, those of you who are listening, she knows her stuff. And this is a topic that is right up her alley. So I am happy to have her along with me for this particular topic because I think it's something that we all should aspire to because self-awareness is it's so key to so many things in our lives. And being able to be self-aware can help us identify like links between stress and physical symptoms, and lots of other things. I personally talk a lot about the mind-body connection. That's kind of my thing, is that I try to help people understand the connectivity between the mental states and the emotions and the physical and how it's all interconnected, and being able to understand what your body is saying to you can help you to be able to deal with emotional issues and mental issues and so on and so forth. And many times when people have a major physical issue, there is an emotional block that's involved too. And being able to understand those connectivities can help you just be able to rein that in better and just be healthier overall. But we cannot learn those symptoms, those signals, if you will, if we're not aware of them. So that's why self awareness is so big and so powerful, because that self awareness will be able to help us learn to read those cues that our body is giving us, and that is going to allow us to heal more fully. So anyway, so Patricia, in your experience, why do you feel self-awareness is such a key element to personal empowerment?
Mhm. So, yes, thank you. In my opinion, self-awareness is maybe the key when it comes to inner liberation and personal empowerment. I mean, think about it. How can you pursue your true path if you have no sense of self-awareness? If you can't tell, this is what I like, this is what I do not
Mhm.
like, this is what feels good, this is what's healthy for me, this is what's not. Am I living my life and my dreams, or am I living the dreams, for example, of my parents or my peers or my partner? So, and without self-awareness, you're basically lost.
I would totally agree with that. So what do you well, how can people, because I find that sometimes when people start trying to be self-aware,
Mhm.
they enter into a lot of what I call self-judgment, because because they're trying to be aware, go inward, but then they kind of start, well, I'm doing it wrong, or they're doing this and I'm doing it, and so they actually start judging themselves. So what do you feel like, how can people distinguish between self-awareness and
Mhm.
self-judgment? Because you can be aware, that, oh, I I maybe talk too much. Okay, I'm just throwing a, it's like,
Mhm.
and I need to give other people an opportunity to say things before I just jump in. But
Mhm.
then the self-judgment of that would be,
The
oh, I
criticism.
talk too much, and I really shouldn't talk. So I think there's a kind of a fine line there. I mean, that's just kind of an example I just thought up that I just threw out there.
Yeah.
So how can
Yeah.
people distinguish the difference between self-awareness and self-judgment?
So in nowadays society, it's so we are so conditioned, not just by our upbringing and our parents, but all this self-help industry and also a lot of the coaching, the spiritual stuff went down a path where it's not really about your true essence, but about all kinds of expectations and demands and optimization and whatever. So it's very common to slide into judgment or even
Mhm.
criticism of yourself. Um, and sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you catch yourself too late because that's almost became kind of our default state,
Yeah.
to criticize ourselves or to try to improve whatever it is we do not like, habits or qualities or something like that. So a way to really know or to really step into self-awareness and not self-criticism is to be as honest as possible and try to step more into an observer role.
Mhm.
Try what can help is, for example, see yourself through the eyes of a well-meaning guide or parent, for example, who
Yeah.
looks with well-meaning eyes at their children. And of course, you have to practice that. Sometimes it comes easy, sometimes it doesn't
Yeah.
come so easy. Um, and then again, also, so for example, your body usually tells you the truth. Whereas
Yes.
your mind can come up with all kinds of games to trick you into denying your true state or for positive or negative, so can go both ways. However, when you feel into your body, how does my body feel? What does my body want or need now in terms of healthy wants or needs, of course,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good guideline, you
Yeah.
know. And then, of course, considering also your effects on your surroundings, like on other people and stuff like that, because we are always interacting, not just with ourselves, but with our families, friends, partners, co-workers, whatever. So it's like a sacred, like a balanced dance, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking, and one thing that jumped out at me, because I wrote it down. That's why you saw my pen moving.
Okay.
You said the body tells you the truth. I love that statement. The body tells you the truth, because
Mhm.
yes, uh, our minds are highly creative, and they will make up stories. That's one
Yes.
of the reasons why I'm always also
Yes.
trying to help people understand they can rewrite their stories.
Yes.
So our minds can tell us stories, but our bodies will tell us the truth, and
Yes.
that's also a reason why self-awareness is so important, to be
Mhm.
able to read what the body is trying to tell you.
Mhm.
So I love that. I wrote that down, and it's like I
Yeah.
wanted to come back around to that. As a matter of fact, I feel I think one of the simplest self-check-in practices that a person can do is to just pause for a moment and take a deep breath, and then just ask yourself, how am I feeling right now?
Mhm.
And
Yes.
then just kind of go through your body and kind of
Mhm.
see where
Mhm.
something's not feeling quite right, which we're going to talk a little bit about in a little bit. We'll go deeper into that. It's
Mhm.
like tension in the shoulders. If you have tension in your shoulders, what's going on there? Why is that?
Yeah.
Are you carrying the weight of the world around on your shoulders? Is that
Yeah.
why your shoulders are hurting?
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things that self-awareness is going to help you understand about yourself. So when you can start reading those cues and you can understand yourself and you understand your environment, you mentioned environment, you can start making those changes that you need in
Mm-hmm.
order to, change your physical body if there's some sort of ailment there, or change your environment if there's something there that needs to be changed. And um, and in being able to do that, that's part of what empowers you. Being able
Yes.
to make those changes is very, very empowering.
Yes. And then check in with yourself, check in with your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, which is different. Feelings and emotions are a different thing, different beasts. Your habits and
Hmm.
your overall state of being, and check in on a regular basis and see, okay, what is my overall state of being? Is
Right.
this the life that I want to live for the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years? And then if, for example, sweat breaks out, okay, that might be a clue to make some changes. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit
Mm.
about emotional intelligence. I know everyone has heard that word now, and it means different things to different people. And so I want to just kind of dive into that a little bit from um, the part of how emotional intelligence plays a huge role in our well-being. So I want to start though with the whole idea of how suppressed emotions often manifest as physical symptoms in the body. Okay, so that's what I was talking about when I started talking about the tension in the shoulders. For instance, unresolved grief can lead to fatigue. Um, Lots of times, grief, I have found, it generally settles in the chest, and so it has a lot to, it just feel like heaviness in the chest a lot too,
Yeah.
or inability to breathe.
Yeah.
Um, Unprocessed anger can cause digestive issues. Actually, in a lot of the work that I do, I did a lot. I don't do quite so much of it anymore, but when I first started doing a lot of things, I started out in nutrition and digestive health and all of that, and particularly like inflammation and how inflammatory bowel and all that kind of stuff. And I found that in my work with chronic inflammation, that there was always some level of anger of some sort that the person needed to deal with on an emotional level. And so that anger could absolutely cause digestive issues. It can disrupt so many things in the digestive tract, from the stomach, with anxiousness, getting knots in your stomach, to, your small intestine, boundaries, not being able to hold proper boundaries, to your colon holding on to old stuff.
Mhm.
So those emotions, and especially when you bury it, there's a good book that I often recommend to my clients, and it's about the buried emotions.
Mhm.
And for the life of me, I can't think of the name of it is, but I will think of it before this show's ends, so I can tell everyone. Um, and when we push it down, inevitably it's going to come back up. And usually, when it comes back up, it comes back up.
Mhm.
So it's better to deal with it. Um, So emotional intelligence to me is also being able to have that emotional awareness
Mhm.
and being able to use different tools, including, breath work or, somatic tracking, that kind of thing, to help a person just quickly check in and see where they are emotionally so they can make those adjustments that can more favorably affect our health rather than negatively affect our health. So what do you think about that, about emotional intelligence, or even emotional honesty, because I find that sometimes when people suppress stuff, they're trying to avoid it. They're trying
Yeah.
to avoid dealing with it. So, so what's your take on that?
Well, definitely. So emotional intelligence or honesty, I love that word, emotional honesty, because it has a lot to do with being honest with yourself. It's a form of self-awareness, of course. And so when you are emotional intelligent or honest, you are aware of what's going on inside of you. As in, am I triggered now?
Mm-hmm.
Am I in a state where I react, where some kind of chain reaction is set off? And I'm just at the mercy of my pain body, for example, of my unconscious conditionings. Am I in the process of being sucked down into the black hole of downward spiraling, just reacting, whatever? Or am I conscious feeling what I feel, which can be positive or negative? It always goes both
Yeah.
ways. So emotional intelligence also, for me, it doesn't mean to be all stoic or anhedonic or not feeling anything anymore. Emotional intelligence means I'm able to feel what I feel. I'm able to distinguish if it's a natural and a healthy reaction or action to what is happening now,
Yeah.
or am I triggered? You know, am I so? And then with emotional intelligence, I can make a more conscious decision about, do I react or do I step back?
Mm-hmm.
And then act from an empowered state,
Yeah.
because I'm aligned with my essence. I'm aligned with my conscious behavior, with my conscious state of being.
Yeah.
So emotional intelligence enables us to consciously shift from being, for example, a victim of your biography
Mm.
into being the conscious creator of your desired reality. And emotional intelligence means to be able to just feel what's going on, not suppressing, not denying, not avoiding
Yeah.
emotions. So, and that's very important. So because all of the suppressed stuff and avoiding to feel, grief is an excellent
Right.
example, especially in our society. So many
Yeah.
people try to avoid grief, and then it leads to all kinds of even diseases. As
Exactly.
when you cry your crocodile tears, and when you acknowledge, okay, I lost somebody, I missed that, whatever it is, that's also healing in and of itself.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, there's a definite connection between suppressed emotions and physical symptoms, and um, the definition of disease is a collection of symptoms,
yeah.
and symptoms are caused by imbalances, and more often than not, those imbalances are caused by emotions or emotional states and that kind of thing. And I
Mhm,
think it's important for people to understand that connectivity in order
mhm,
to have, again, in order to have true health, and being able to understand that and make the changes that are needed,
mhm.
I think is, like I said, it's just very empowering. And that's what we're talking about today, is the empowerment of that self-awareness to be able to understand that connectivity to make the changes that you need
Yes.
in order to move forward, whether it's physical health, emotional health, you know, changing your life, or whatever the outcome is. Self-awareness is still the key to it.
Yes. 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 Definitely.
So do you have any type of, quick little exercises or anything that you would like to, to give the people to help them do like a little quick, self-awareness check-in or tool or something? I know you always have all kinds of little tools, so that's why I'm letting you do this part. It's like you always come up with the greatest little acronyms and little
Yeah.
things and all that kind of stuff. So
A wonderful tool is, of course, checking in with your body. So, for example, where are my feet? My
yeah,
feet are standing on the ground. Okay. And where my feet are is where I am right now. So, consciously focus on the connections, feel your feet, for example, on the ground. That way you connect with your body immediately without
yeah,
trying hard, but feeling your feet or maybe your hands on the table or whatever,
yeah,
touch something, get in contact with your body. And if you're in a situation where some turmoil, emotional or thoughts is going on, connect with your body. And then you can ask yourself, okay, is this really me who
mhm,
experienced this? Is all of this true? Or is there some automated, unwanted program, just some chain
yeah,
reaction going on?
yeah,
And oftentimes, just by asking yourself this question, you are able to step out of
yeah.
that tsunami you were afraid to drown in. You know,
Well, thank
and it
you.
only takes a couple of seconds.
All right, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. I personally like to do body scanning, what they call body scanning. A lot of people don't know what body scanning is. Some people do. It's just one of those things where you just kind of like close your eyes and you just start just going through your body, and it's like just trying to
Yep,
notice
yep,
what you're feeling there. You can also take that to an emotional level too, and just kind of close your eyes and place your hand on your over your heart, and then name the emotion, or try to name the emotion that you're
yep,
feeling at that particular moment without
yep,
judgment. It's like if you're feeling ticked off right now,
yep,
then okay, be
yep.
honest with yourself. I'm ticked off right now.
Mhm,
And I think, we go back to the emotional honesty. I think that is a huge
mhm,
factor and a huge key for many of us, because we do not want to be honest with ourselves, because
mhm,
because of self-judgment,
mhm.
because it's like, oh, I shouldn't feel that way. But you know what? You do.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you don't accept that, if you don't acknowledge that, you try to suppress it, it it you know,
It's a
it has
recipe for
yeah,
drama and stress. Yeah.
exactly,
And
exactly.
oftentimes it helps, especially so we are talking about unwanted, unpleasant emotions and feelings and thoughts, of course, because most people, when they have happy thoughts and feelings, it's fine. They don't talk
Right.
about it, or it's not a big deal. So we focus on the unpleasant things.
Right.
So sometimes it really helps when you feel something or think something that you really do not like. It's so stress relieving when you just tell yourself, I am allowed to feel this way. I
Yes.
allow myself to feel this
Yes.
way. You know, just tell this to yourself and you will immediately experience huge relief. And then, if you
Yeah.
want, you can say, and this might change.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds so silly, but usually the silly sounding, easy things are the best ones and the
Yeah.
most powerful ones.
It
It's
really
not
is. Because
complicated.
yeah, it did. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very simple. As a matter of fact, I find that the simplest things often works the best,
Yeah.
because they're available at a moment's notice. You don't necessarily have to, think about it, or, overthink it, if you
Yes.
will. And yeah, absolutely. But I think, again, I think being honest with ourselves
Mhm.
without judgment, again, without judgment, because I think that's the reason why so many of us don't deal with the emotions that we're feeling,
Mhm.
and we just try to suppress it instead, is because we're
Mhm.
judging ourselves for those feelings.
Yes.
And we need to come at it from a place of, okay, I feel that way. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's okay to feel that way.
Yes.
And then maybe you can explore, why do I feel that way? What is triggering me?
Yes.
And if there are things that you can change to adjust those triggers, then do that. It's very empowering to be able to make the changes that
Mhm.
you need
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
you can feel better emotionally.
Yes. And oftentimes the reason is that there are too big expectations. So from feeling not good at all, and then people expect, oh, it's only good when everything is totally
Mm,
fine and I'm happy and I'm smiling the entire. No, you know. So sometimes it's just, as you said, I'm feeling this way and it's okay, okay, in a sense of it is what it is,
yeah,
not good, not bad. So don't expect too much. Don't expect to change on the spot, because sometimes that's also a recipe for failure. And then you say,
yeah,
see, it doesn't work, whatever.
right,
So the power, the magic is in the small steps, the small steps.
yeah,
And it's okay. It's this feeling, period.
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
get out of the judgment, get out of the judgment zone. And which brings me actually to the next topic. I mean, so this is a really good segue for that. Um, I believe that a lot of our judgment comes from our childhood narratives or
Mhm.
societal messages.
Yes.
And so that shapes our beliefs. And
Yes.
then our beliefs, and I'm getting ready to use a tech term here because I'm the tech girl, becomes part of our operating system.
Yes. Yes.
And sometimes you need to change the programming. And, and in the energy world, we call those limiting beliefs.
Mhm.
It's quite literally beliefs that we have picked up somewhere along the way. Either it's something that society taught us, something our parents taught us,
Mhm.
something we decided based on our circumstances
Mhm.
that are quite literally limiting us from moving forward or creating the life that we want or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Limiting beliefs is exactly what it sounds like. It's a belief that limits you,
Yes.
which is
And
the opposite of being empowered.
yes.
So, for instance, like I deal a lot with people that have health issues. That's just kind of by the time they come to me, there's usually some sort of chronic issue that's going on. And many times before we can really start working, we have to deal with the beliefs of, I can't get well, or I've had this for so long that it's never going to change, or they become they identify with their condition. And
Mhm.
so that becomes part of their identity, if you will. And we often will have to deal with those limiting beliefs first before they can really start healing. Um, I deal a lot with people that struggle with weight. That seems to be like a prevalent topic these days. And many times it has more to do with the beliefs
Mhm.
than what they're eating.
Yeah. Yeah. And the limiting beliefs, they can turn into really suffocating beliefs.
Hmm.
And usually at the time we adopt those beliefs, we get programmed with those beliefs. They usually are formed because it was some kind of coping mechanism. You know,
Yes.
when we
Yeah.
acquired them, usually at a very early age, where we literally were powerless when it came to, for example,
Hmm.
our parents or teacher, or the bully next door, whatever. And so we kind of developed those, or acquired those limiting beliefs, those self-sabotaging beliefs, even
Yeah.
to protect us, to cope with the reality. But now they do not serve us anymore.
Right.
They sabotage ourselves. And then, especially when they go very deep, so when it was something very important, that's when those beliefs, as you said, kind of become our identity. So when
Hmm.
we identify with this role, the role of being overweight or sick or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's time to really assess those beliefs, to dig them up and to see, okay, do they really still benefit?
Right.
Do I benefit from it? And sometimes, so I had a client, and basically every weekend or holiday or whatever, she developed a migraine, which is horrible.
Mm,
Having migraine every week. I mean,
yeah.
people who had migraine once, they know it's one of the most horrible
Yeah.
feelings. So, but it was so hard for her to let go of the migraine because she benefited from it. Why? Everyone tiptoed around. Her partner
Yes.
was nice.
Yes.
She held the belief, my partner is only nice to me when I'm sick, when I have a migraine.
Yes.
My kids only behave well when they need to be quiet because I have a migraine. So really be honest and ask yourself, okay, the benefit I get from this state of being, from this belief,
Yeah.
what cost does it come?
Yeah.
And can I get the same benefit with some whatever healthy belief or healthy circumstances or joyful actions, that
Right.
are
Yeah.
going on in my life? So there's a lot to those limiting beliefs, to those sabotaging or self-sabotaging programs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There is. So yeah. So like in the work that um, I use multiple modalities. I'm upfront about that. I'm not tied to one or the other. I use whatever is
Yes. What?
which is best for the client at the time. But I do use one particular modality that is literally called the belief code, and it's literally about dealing with those subconscious deep down beliefs that we may have formed over the years that sometimes go all the way back to childhood
Mhm.
that is limiting us. And when I use that modality, it is, more of energy work kind of thing. And sometimes, we need to do that to kind of get people a good jump start.
Mhm.
But there are things that people can do on their own too to help start shifting those beliefs. And this starts with awareness and identifying those beliefs. So one of the things that I like to tell people is okay, I'm a huge fan of journaling because I feel like you can let things out that you probably wouldn't otherwise express. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm always like recommending people like journal stuff.
Mhm.
And so, like, one of the journaling prompt that I often will give is for them to write down, okay, what is one belief that I hold about myself that
Mhm.
may not be true?
Mhm.
And how is this belief limiting me? And that
Yes.
really starts to get them to think,
Yes.
because then they have to start searching. Okay, so what is some sort of belief that and then is that really true? So
I wanted to
really,
say another
yeah,
good prompt is when they are journaling on their negative beliefs or circumstances,
yeah,
whatever. What is the story I'm telling myself about
yeah,
this? And then ask yourself, is this really true?
yeah.
Or you can even go further and ask, what if the opposite was true?
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like when they can start challenging those beliefs, that's the first step of changing those beliefs.
Yes.
So we have to challenge it. Is this true? You know,
Yes.
if
Yes.
if we go back to the example that I said earlier about the talking too much, that was just something just kind of popped up because we were talking about throat chakras earlier. It's like, okay, do you really talk too much? Or do you just think you talk too much? It very well could be that you're actually a very powerful speaker,
Mhm.
and under the right circumstances, you can reach a lot of people that other people cannot.
Yes.
So is that belief something that maybe comes from childhood? Maybe like in school
Mhm.
when teachers said that you talk too
Silence.
much?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Or your parents, told you, okay, children should be seen and not heard.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Or
So
keep
start
quiet
changing.
when the grown-ups are talking. That was one of in my
Yes,
childhood, one of the favorite.
Yeah,
sentences that people said. You shut up as a kid, so the
yeah.
grown up talking
So
now.
start challenging that. Is that true?
Yes.
Do I really talk too much?
Mhm. Yeah.
Or is that just my perception?
Mhm. Yeah. And also another good thing of discovering what you really want, for example, is, and a lot of people, especially women, struggle with this.
Mhm.
Simply answer the question, what do I really want?
Yes.
Really want? And then start journaling and start or keep answering the same question over and over and over again, because the first 5 or 10 answers is your conditioned mind. It's not what you
Yeah.
really want. It's
Yeah.
what society, parents, whoever told you, or what you think, what your ego mind thinks is good for you.
Yeah.
What do I really want? And then you can keep going. And why do I want this?
Yeah.
And why? And why? So there is this practice to ask the why question, for example, 7 times or 9 times, to
Yeah.
dig deep enough to
Yeah.
get to your real why. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing too, is that I think people get stuck on what the answer should be.
Mhm. Mhm.
And again, that goes back to that judgment, whether it's
Mhm.
self-judgment or it's a subconscious belief that, was, goes
Mhm.
back when, that conditioning or whatever.
Mhm.
And they get stuck on what the answer should be. And I would
Yeah.
challenge everyone to not get stuck
Yes.
on what the answer should be
Yes.
and
Yeah.
just kind of think outside the box. So right now we're trying to challenge those
Mhm.
limiting beliefs.
Mhm.
So what is, and this is you audience, what is one belief I hold about myself that may not be true? When
Mhm.
you start thinking on that, you'd be surprised at the things that might come up.
A very cool practice just came to my mind right now when you said, when you gave the tip on to journal on that. For example, you can take a lot of post-it notes, and on each post-it note you write down a role that you play in your life. So, for example, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a teacher, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a partner, I'm, what. So, and then of course, make sure that it's safe, but then you can burn all of the different um, post-it notes,
Mhm.
for all the roles that you feel, okay, this is a role that I'm playing, but it doesn't feel comfortable. It's not me. It's not what defines me.
Yeah,
So that's a little ritual, a little energy ritual,
yeah,
and see, and again, be honest and take an honest close look at what are the roles that I really like, not
mhm,
to play but to be, to embody. Is
yeah,
this embodiment of my true core essence, of my true being, or is this something that is kind of imposed on me?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
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 I love that exercise, and I'd like to add to that, again, the importance of being honest when you're doing that exercise too. Again, it's okay if that role is not something that you
You.
want. You have to be honest with yourself in order to be able to truly create what you want.
And I had a client a couple of years ago, and we did this exercise, and she, I don't know, it was something like 100 or 150 different roles,
Yeah,
and she was only happy with 5 or 6 of them.
yeah, yeah. And again, it's okay.
Mhm.
Okay, we need to enter into this without judgment
Yes.
and with pure honesty.
Mhm.
It is okay if that role no longer serves you and you don't want to do that anymore. Just
Yes.
be honest with yourself, because you know what? When you're not honest with yourself and you allow yourself to stay in that role and it's not something that is empowering you,
Mhm.
it will create resentment
Mhm.
and it will create anger,
Mhm. Mhm.
which gets
And
us
then it
back
has
to what
negative impacts to other areas of your life that used to
exactly,
be good and successful. And so it's like with the one rotten apple that spoils everything. If you
exactly, exactly. And, particularly like I'm going to bring it back to the resentment and anger because I see that so much,
Mhm.
particularly for women. And I
Yes,
know you probably have seen it a lot because you work a lot with empowering women, which
yes,
is the reason why this is a very good conversation to have with you,
yeah.
because we get stuck in these societal roles, if we will,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
that eventually we outgrow
Yes.
or we never wanted in the first place.
Mhm. Mhm.
And but we stay with it because we're taught that's what we're supposed to do.
And then what I observe so oftentimes more in women than in men is staying in roles or in whatever circumstances, partnerships, jobs, whatever, um, because so many women either have a hard time to express what they really want,
Mhm.
or they really do not know it.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
do not know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
So
why it's important to
you
be
are
honest.
situation where you do not yet know what you really want, you can start journaling all the things you do not want and then take the opposite and
There
that's,
you go. There you go.
because
See, there's a
because
way.
so hard. Sometimes it's so hard, asking women, so what do you want? What's your goal? And they go blank. And then they can tell you 10 things they do not want. Yeah, but what do you want? I don't know. You
Yeah.
tell me. No, it's not my job.
No, that's actually a very good idea. If you don't know what you want, start with what you don't want.
Yeah.
And then you can take that list of what you don't want and take the
And
opposite and go, okay,
yeah.
well, do I want that? And then you
uh,
can just start whittling it down to
yes.
start creating a new narrative for yourself, a new
Yes.
story, a new narrative, and start
And also
creating.
allow yourself to try things out because sometimes, especially if you never tried something, you only
Yeah,
dream that this might be it. And then it turns out, no, it's not. Try it out, give yourself permission.
yeah.
And sometimes it changes.
It does. And that's another thing too, is that we also need to understand that it's okay if it changes.
Yes. Yeah.
If what you wanted before is not what you want now. Or if you tried something, you don't like it, and you want to try something else, that's fine too.
Yes.
You
Or you
know,
thought it's good and it's what you like, but then you experience it, and only by experiencing it you see, oh well, I thought it was different, so I do not really like. So okay, it's
yeah.
okay, it's fine.
And that's where we go back to the emotional honesty,
Yes,
being honest. Because
yes.
that's the only way you're going to be able to move forward and really truly create the
Hmm.
life that you want is by
Yes,
being honest.
yes.
And because that honesty and that self-awareness again is what's going to empower you to make the changes
Mhm.
to create what it is that you want out of life. And it's okay if you don't know what that is yet, but being able to be self-aware and start being able to start thinking about those things and have the emotional intelligence and the emotional honesty to
Mhm.
start breaking it down is what's going to help you build a better picture. So,
Mhm. Yes.
yeah,
Hmm. And then it comes with the experience. Yeah.
yeah,
Start moving, start making small changes, try
yeah,
out new things, new options, and kind of, for me, it's a combination of everything. It's thoughts, feelings, emotions, and actions, you
yeah,
know. and all of them have to be aligned and in some holistic good way.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Well, so now I want to touch a little bit about and integrating mind and body awareness for holistic healing, because that's kind of my thing. Because I'm always about integration, because you just cannot separate. It's all connected, and
Yes.
it's very important for us to understand that. And so I wanted to touch a little bit. We've already talked a little bit about how emotions show up in the body, and with self-awareness we can start to read those cues. But I think it's equally important for people to understand that physical sensations are often messengers for deeper emotional patterns. Earlier I talked about the tight shoulders. you know
Mhm.
that's like carrying around emotional burdens. So
Mhm.
when you understand that the physical, what your body's trying to tell you, is messengers for something deeper emotionally that you need to deal with, I think that it helps us to be able to, again, to make those changes before things get too far gone.
Mhm.
And then, you know, once it gets to disease state, you got to do a lot more to bring it back. So if we can learn to be self-aware earlier on, it's a lot easier to
Yeah,
kind of keep yourself
course
on track.
correct.
So yes, it's like if you can course correct before you get, a mile down the road, you won't be quite so off the track.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
And with
so
emotions and symptoms, it's also about do not wait until they gained way too much momentum.
yeah,
Catch
yeah.
them early on, then it's way easier. Don't
Yeah,
ignore.
yeah. So from my perspective, self-awareness extends beyond just our thoughts and emotions. It also extends into our bodies as well. So we can be aware of our thoughts, we can be aware of our emotions, but we should also be aware of our bodies. And I think a lot of people are not aware of their bodies. And I admit that I too was guilty of that, you know, and which led to, major, illness that I needed to deal with. I'm generally upfront about that.
Mhm.
That's another time. I don't want to go into that story right now because we're going to run out of time. But if anybody wants to hear my story, feel free to reach out. Um, so I feel like when we're not tuned into our bodies and we ignore sensations and symptoms, they keep going. And
Mhm.
then, so first, body might tap, 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 tap.
Mhm. Mhm.
Then it might knock, 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 knock.
And then it
And
push.
then boom.
I
So
don't know if you also have this saying, but we here in the German language, we kind of have the saying, it's the soul speaks to the body and says to the body, please you tell them because they do not listen to me. Because the soul
yeah,
usually whispers and the body at some point starts to scream at you.
yeah, exactly. So how would you guide people to help them to be able to use their intuition or intuitively listen to their bodies so they can understand a little bit about what's going. I mean, it takes practice. It really does,
Yeah.
and you won't get it, when you first start. But as you continue doing it, it becomes easier. So, what would you suggest for someone?
So, first of all, especially if they are like beginners in this world and everything seems to be so confusing or so complicated, which it isn't, as we said before. So, the first thing is that I bring them in a state of relaxation,
Hmm.
physical relaxation. Because when your body is relaxed, also your mind and your emotions start to relax and start to calm down. So So then there is not so much chatter going on in the mind and with the emotions. So then they can more clearly notice, for example, their physical feelings in the body, or their needs and wants, their inner voice that comes up.
Yeah.
So at first it's try to relax your body, and as I described before, do some, for example, touch something or put your feet on the ground and get some connection to your body, you know.
Yeah.
And then you start hearing, and then usually I guide them through some exercises, and usually I kind of, and that's my shamanic training, of course, and this
Yeah.
might sound a little woo, so I kind of connect, I tap into their energy field, and then usually either I get a lot of informations, or the right questions to ask, or the right exercises or visualizations come to me. I guide them through, and then they get their answers, they get their messages or their
Yeah.
pointings. And with the especially with the shamanic practices, like
Mhm.
guided journeys or whatever, the beauty is that people can talk, literally talk to all kinds of different layers
Yeah.
inside of them. So they can talk to the, even to their dream symbols or whatever, you
Yeah.
know. And when they are open and not judgmental, I always tell them, don't expect anything in particular. Just be open like a little child that has no idea about anything. Be open, be curious, and whatever wants to come up, don't censor it, don't edit it,
Yeah.
just speak it out. So, and usually I even do not let them journal. I tell them, okay, activate your recording app on your cell phone and just talk,
Yeah.
because sometimes it's so fast that
Yeah.
handwriting is slow.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. I've heard of people doing that before, and it's and actually I had someone do one on me that guided me through to my self-conscious, and and it's very much of, okay, don't overthink it, don't think about it, just say what is
Mhm.
coming out.
Yeah.
And she would record for me
Mhm.
so I could go back and hear what I said to myself,
Yeah.
and it's the craziest thing. I remember the time that I did it. It was me telling myself not to beat myself up, and that I'm actually doing better than I think I'm doing. So and I think sometimes our ego and our analytical brains and all of that stuff gets in the way of us
Yeah.
truly hearing ourselves, hearing our small
Yeah.
voices.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people, it's like you start talking about stuff like that and they immediately go, "Oh, it's too woo."
Mm,
And actually it's not. It's not really woo. We
mm,
should probably do a show some at
yeah.
some time about,
You know
compare
what
and contrast woo and science. It's
what
like it's not woo, it's it's
yeah,
it's
that's
you.
what I wanted to say. Yeah. So what's considered woo, oftentimes nowadays it's proved and backed by science with
Exactly,
translations and
exactly.
everything. And so also with the ancient tradition, with the shamanic, especially the shamanic tools, we have beautiful tools, um, using symbolic language, using real archetypal primal symbols.
Yeah,
And by using those symbols, it's like we fool the logical mind, so there are
yeah,
no filters,
yeah,
and your true self starts talking,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. and
Yeah,
and there
it's
are
yeah.
beautiful techniques so that your mind can't come up with some things, or your conditioned ego, or all of your programming. No, we can come to a place where your true essence is talking to you.
Yeah, yeah, it's about removing the barriers
Yes.
that we've put in
the filters and
The filters, the barriers,
yeah,
the limiting
yeah,
beliefs.
yes. And with the shamanic tools, you can sidestep them. They
Yeah,
don't matter because you can go right to the core.
right. Yeah, and it's not for everyone. Obviously, we don't want
No,
people to do stuff they're not comfortable with,
no,
and that's why
no.
it's important to find those
Yes,
tools that you can use,
yes,
that you are comfortable with,
yeah,
because as I tell my clients all the time, something's better than nothing.
yeah,
So it's like, so a step is a step, even if it's a baby step.
yes.
And that's the reason why I often like, because a lot of the clients that I get are generally going to be people. I just seem to attract the ones that tend to be more analytical. And
Hmm.
so I usually have to start them off with things like, okay, just journal,
Hmm.
to just start,
Hmm.
because that's something they understand, but it
Yeah,
will start to open things up for
yes.
them.
Open things up. Yes.
And we
And
have to meet them where they are.
right.
So
And we were talking so much about the body and our body mind relationship. So the body is a wonderful tool as
yes.
well. So, for example, especially when your mind is so full. So I do not like the word mindfulness so much because it's your mind. So
Sometimes
when
needs to be less full.
yes, yes, mind emptiness. So, for example, any type of physical activity or exercise, especially in nature, can work wonders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, just going for a walk,
a
and
walk.
letting your mind just think what it's gonna think and wander off, and
Mhm,
yeah. Yeah.
mhm,
So
mhm.
yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Which brings me to our last and final point here, and that's about how creating the self-awareness practice and sticking with it can help you produce sustainable change.
Mhm,
So, I like to encourage everyone to, start with, small daily check-ins.
mhm.
Am I in alignment with what I need right now?
Yes.
How am I feeling today? Again, I love journaling, so I often will tell people to start keeping a wellness journal. And don't
Mhm,
worry about what it looks like or what you're writing in it, or if you're writing the right stuff or anything like that. I actually have a worksheet if anybody wants it. It's called Self-Awareness Worksheet, Unlock Your Inner Power. So if
mhm,
anybody wants it, they can reach out to me. It has like some prompts for daily self check-in. It also has some instructions for identifying and releasing limiting beliefs,
mhm.
um, a body awareness exercise, and some tips on creating their own self-awareness practice. So it's something to kind of get you started if if you need a little help. But again, it doesn't have to be anything really big. You don't have to overthink all of this stuff. So I'm going to let Patricia wrap this particular piece up, because she is like the queen of all of all of the little check-ins and things. I mean, I
Oh,
love the
thank
little things
you.
that she comes up with. So, how from your perspective, how can we turn self-awareness into a daily habit rather just an occasional practice? I
Mhm.
find that sometimes people will start and then they don't continue, and that's where, they kind of fall off. So we need to be able to do stuff that becomes a daily habit,
Yes.
if you will.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so it's important. It's like physical, it's like muscle training. You train your muscle, it's strong, you stop doing it, it weakens. And it's the same with this. So, and there are tons and tons and tons of micro rituals or practices that you can apply. Most important is A, do it every single day. Best to do it a couple of times a day. And B is pick something that you like and that is easy for you.
yeah,
That's important. It must be easy. It must be doable basically everywhere,
yeah,
without the need for any devices or whatever, because otherwise chances are you will not follow through.
yeah,
So, and then pick best is pick something with your body, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
touching your desktop, putting your feet on the ground.
Right.
And when it comes to self-empowering awareness, a very easy practice is a simple breathing technique. Just breathe, let your breath come naturally, flow it naturally. Focus on your navel. Because in most shamanic traditions, the navel is our center of power. Sure. I mean, our first nurturing went through the navel. So that's the center of life, the center of power. So when you focus on your navel, you do not need to close your eyes or nothing. You can put your hands on your navel and just breathe. And you will feel that your natural confidence or self-empowerment slowly starts to build up. So the magic is in the teeny tiny action steps, aligned, inspired action every single day. And before you know it, everything will improve.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Keep it simple.
Yes.
And do it every day.
Yep.
If you have to, grab a habit tracker. I find that sometimes habit trackers help too. Even if you're writing down stuff like, okay, I'm going to sit quietly for 5 minutes every day, and then you check it off on your list. It's a good way to kind of get you started. So just start something and keep at it, and you will see the results eventually. So it's not going to change in 24 hours. It takes a little bit of time. But think about it. How long did it take you to get to this point where you have to make that change?
Yeah.
So, and don't you deserve to be able to have the life that you want? Yeah. So, what are you going to do that?
Yes.
All right. So, those of you in the audience, this is what I want you to take away. What is one thing that you've learned about yourself today? What's one thing that you can change? So, all right. So we've talked about understanding self-awareness as a foundation for empowerment. We've talked about the role of emotional intelligence. We've talked about identifying and releasing limiting beliefs. We've talked about integrating mind and body awareness. And we've talked about creating a self-awareness practice for yourself. So there's a lot of good stuff here. I encourage you all to, if something resonated with you, write it down and put it into action. We've given you lots of really great tools that can get you going. And, I want you to not judge yourself, be honest with yourself, and start making the changes, identifying what needs to change, and then just start making it. You deserve it. You deserve it.
Yes. Make it fun. Make it a game.
Yeah, there you go. So that is it for today's show. If this conversation resonated with you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this with someone else who could benefit from it. And don't forget, as I always say, wellness isn't a destination. It's your daily journey. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye.
This episode is brought to you by Living Naturally for Life and Women Unlimited International. Comment, like, subscribe.